Hello, universe. Here's a cool textbook that you may not have seen before. This textbook is called The Introduction to the Modern Theory of Dynamical Systems by Ketok and Hasselblatt, a professor that I was working with in our department at the University of Utah, named Professor Kurt Vinage, recommended this book as part of a reading course, and I'm currently doing an extended seminar with him in ergodic theory, and it's going to reference this textbook quite heavily. And this professor, Professor Vinage, actually, I believe, one of the authors of this textbook was his advisor, okay? So that's how he found out about this textbook. Now, it is very dense, but it is fairly well written, and the material is presented in a way that, is very succinct, and yet at a very advanced theoretical level. Okay, so I'll just share with you the table of contents here. Part 1 is examples and fundamental concepts. We can see these subsections of Part 1 are going to be first examples, equivalence, classification, and invariance, principal classes of asymptotic topological invariance, statistical behavior of orbits, and introduction to ergodic theory. So ergodic theory is the reading course that I'm going to be doing this semester, kind of casually. It's not my main area of research. I'm more just doing it because I was invited, and I think it's interesting. I do care about thermodynamics a lot. So Section 5, systems with smooth invariant measures and more examples. So these 3 chapters of Section 5 on Lagrangian mechanics, examples of geodesic flows, and Hamiltonian systems were 3 chapters that I referenced when I was learning differential geometry. And these are going to be great chapters to read. Even if you just read these chapters alone, they're wonderful. I cross-referenced this textbook with the textbook by Arnold, Mathematical Methods of Classical Mechanics. And I honestly found that the presentation in this text was maybe a little bit more rigorous, or it felt a little bit more palatable, to be honest, for me. And it felt like it was more mathematically precise in terms of just the language, which is a huge statement because the book that I just showed you is a very famous book on mathematical methods of classical mechanics. Not to hate on V.I. Arnold, that's not my goal at all. I'm just really trying to emphasize how good this textbook is. Now, Part 2 is local analysis and orbit growth. We have local hyperbolic theory and its applications, transversality and genericity, orbit growth arising from topology, variational aspects of dynamics, that's important. And then Part 3 is going to be low-dimensional phenomena. So we have an introduction, where we look at some homeomorphisms of the circle, circle diffeomorphisms, twist maps, flows on surfaces and related dynamical systems, continuous maps of the interval, and smooth maps of the interval. Then Part 4 investigates hyperbolic dynamical systems. So 17 is a survey of examples, another survey of examples. 18 is topological properties of hyperbolic sets. 19 is metric structure of hyperbolic sets. And 20 is equilibrium states and smooth invariant measures. And then we have some supplemental material and some appendices here. So the appendices are great because they kind of tell you the background that you're going to need. You need basic topology, functional analysis, differentiable manifolds, differential geometry, topology and geometry of surfaces, measure theory, homology theory, locally compact groups, and Lie groups. So quite the amount of background is required to understand this textbook. And I definitely agree with that because when I was reading this section on Lagrangian and Hamiltonian mechanics, it really did require, it was like pretty advanced. So yeah, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's a hard textbook to read, but it is really well written. And at least from what I've read, I haven't read much, right? Like, this is not my expertise. This is not my field of research, right? Um, I was just recommended to this by a professional in the field of dynamical systems. I am not a professional. However, from what I have read, it is well written. It is relatively succinct and goes through the material pretty quickly, and yet does so at a very high level of rigor. So you're going to need to know those background subjects that I referenced in the appendix. But this is a great kind of, I would view this as like an encyclopedic book that you can use as a reference if you need it. And yeah, I hope you all have a great day.